My name is Heather Alexandra, and today we're going to talk about a ridiculous quest from one of the best RPGs ever made. And I don't say that lightly because this game's really recent, but it's still one of the best. The Witcher 3 is one of the greatest RPGs I've played in a long time. Choosing a single quest to focus on from this game was really difficult. The game is packed to the brim and full of amazing stories and all of these quality characters. There's hardly a dull moment to be found. But after playing through the downloadable content Hearts of Stone and the Dead Man's Party quest, I knew I'd found a real gem. The context is a bit strange for this one. Follow along. After being saved by the mysterious Gaunter O'Dim, Geralt is eventually tasked with helping him grant 3 wishes to a cavalier nobleman named Olgierd von Everec. Von Everec is immortal, as the side effect of a Faustian bargain that he struck with O'Dim. For the trickster to collect Olgierd's soul, he needs to grant those 3 wishes, and for Geralt to be free of his own magical debt to O'Dim, he needs to help. One of those requests is to show von Everec's brother Vladimir the time of his life. But there's a problem, and it's a really big problem. Vladimir is dead. The solution is to summon his ghost. This early part of the quest merely reinforces the actual busy work of being a witcher. It's sort of here to contrast with all of the wild fun and frivolity that's to come. Geralt enters the family crypt, battles Ghost, and he performs a blood ritual to summon Vladimir. Unable to interact with the physical world, it becomes clear that Vladimir kinda needs a body if he wants to really enjoy himself. And Geralt happens to be right there, so he possesses him. This is the best thing about the quest for a ton of reasons. Now you technically have control over 2 characters. Vladimir even takes over the interface, interjecting himself into dialogue choices. When you choose an option, you're not just choosing what Geralt would say, you're switching around. Sometimes you're choosing what Vladimir would say. But you're watching Geralt do all the acting, and this is one amazing thing about the quest. Voice acting, character design, character animations, it all shines here really well. Geralt emotes grandly and he speaks full of bluster, and it's really fun, because in the main game, Geralt's kind of serious. Witchers don't have a lot of emotional range. And you've spent so much time with Geralt that seeing him act this way is a real treat. Also, you now have to balance 2 characters in your mind. What would Geralt think about all of this? What does Vladimir want to do with his one day back in the land of the living? How does he react to this situation? As far as role-playing goes, that's really active, and The Witcher 3 excels exceptionally in just how much it encourages the player to truly think about these 2 personalities. There's also an interesting moral aspect running through the quest. Geralt has previously agreed to go with his friend Shani to a wedding, and Vladimir thinks that this is a grand old way to carouse and make merry. There's plenty of questions to ask. How far are you willing to flirt with Shani, either as Geralt or as Vladimir? When the opportunity for a fight arises, do you disrupt the party or do you back down? Are there lines that Vladimir won't cross? Are there lines of decorum that you, as a player, won't cross? It colors every decision you make, and there are plenty of decisions to be made. One of the most interesting things about the quest, structurally, is that once you arrive at the wedding, there's a host of activities to participate in and characters to talk to. In some ways, CD Projekt Red treats the wedding space the same way that other games might treat entire cities or hub worlds. They just sort of fill it full of people to talk to and things to do. From playing Gwent and chasing pigs to talking to folks and diving into the water, you have plenty of activities to participate in, and each one of these is full of micro decisions. For instance, when you're asked to retrieve a fire eater gone missing to have him come back and entertain the party, you have a couple of different ways to handle the situation. Do you use magic to calm the dog that chased him away, or do you scare it off? Do you pay him when he sort of wants to leave and say, hey, come back, we'll pay you, or do you mind control him? You have these choices, and they're often small choices, but they exist nonetheless because The Witcher 3 is deeply concerned with player expression. It should also be noted that most of these activities end up using major mechanics and modes of interaction. There's swimming, tracking the fire eater using your magical Witcher sense, there's combat and card games and dialogue. You can express yourself in all of these moments of play. For instance, you might decide that Vladimir uses Geralt's magic to cheat at a party game, or not. The stakes aren't grand, but the quest still manages to have something for everyone and tries to give all of those activities some meaning and provide interesting moments. It's a little piece of The Witcher 3 in microcosm. But perhaps more importantly, Dead Man's Party is about people. It's not just a miniature theme park. The quest narrows the game's ambitious scope. The original game's huge, right? But this focuses on commoners. The main quest is full of kings, assassins, sorceresses, witchers, and evil crones. Dead Man's Party is a small slice of rural life in Temeria. We get to participate in song and dance, watching as ordinary people enjoy what they consider to be an extraordinary day. It puts things in perspective. You are in the middle of a magical quest, but these people are in the middle of a magical moment in their lives. It's wonderfully human. Shani forms the emotional core of the quest. In many ways, her reaction to things sort of mirrors our own. She's initially uncomfortable with Vladimir's possession of Geralt, but she's also kind of amused at seeing her friend and former paramour acting so uncharacteristically. There are times when the fun goes a little too far, though, and she reacts to that, too. Vladimir steals a kiss from Shani at one point. It's a moment that's really icky, and it's made kind of worse by the fact that it occurs outside of the player's control. We can't stop it. We're sort of party to behavior that's really uncouth, to say the least. And even in the following dialogue, we don't really get to back away from Vladimir's crass nature. To her credit, Shani handles it pretty well, but the moment's uncomfortable. It contributes to her main emotional conflict in the quest. She has feelings for Geralt, and she maybe even liked that kiss, but she has all of these fears about how she's letting her life slip away without companionship, and she has to watch as the person that she likes is sort of showing her all attention, but it's not the person that she likes, it's Vladimir. It's up to the player how far they navigate the situation, and they get to decide how close Geralt and Shani become. And in spite of his boorish actions, we don't necessarily come to hate Vladimir either. He encourages people, he carouses with them, and livens up the world around him. But he's also a sad man who wasted his life trying to impress a brother that he deeply envied, and knows that once the clock hits midnight, he'll return to a quiet, uneventful, and dreary afterlife. He builds rapport with Geralt and those around him. Vladimir wants to enjoy himself, and he goes over the line sometimes, but he's also really concerned with making sure that the people around him have a good time as well. He's a drinker, a fighter, and a lech. He's a scoundrel who initially seems to care for only himself. But over the course of the wedding, he becomes less selfish. It's not a perfect transformation, but we do get to see him grow. The dynamics are always changing in Dead Man's Party. As we learn more about Vladimir, we empathize with him. We might even come to pity him. Character relationships shift. By the end of it all, Shani gives Vladimir a kiss. The Witcher 3 lives or dies on the strength of its characters. Dead Man's Party gives them time to grow and reveal themselves. It lets us see the quiet wisdom and the awful terror of Gaunter O'Dim. Heck, there's even a little miniature arc between the groom and his father-in-law. The world continues to grow and progress throughout the quest. Nothing is ever static. Dead Man's Party is everything I love about The Witcher 3. Rich characters, expressive gameplay, and a whole lot of heart. Dead Man's Party might not be as dramatic as other quests, but that only makes it all the more impressive in my mind. It dares to alter the pace and demands the player roleplay through a series of mounting complications.